Donald Trump has raised $170 million since November 3rd. The only loser in the history of presidential politics in the United States to have raised money in the name of winning the election after losing the election. The framers of the Constitution would have never seen something like that coming. As I have been saying this on this channel over and over again, the money the Trump campaign has collected from people across the country makes absolute sense when you see the Trump campaign lawsuits fail in court after court while they keep talking about evidence on TV. Not just the Trump campaign, which used fundraisers to raise money, Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, Breitbart, right-wing podcasts, all of them have made a ton of money spreading falsehoods about the election, pumping as much misinformation into the country as possible. As the Trump campaign directly asked people to spare their dollars, these networks, news networks, so-called news networks, used additional traffic to make as much money as they can. It's a grift train of unparalleled proportions. In the week after the election, when Trump started pumping falsehoods about the election, Newsmax viewership increased 183%. In October, Newsmax had an average of about 65,000 viewers per minute. During the election period, it increased to 182,000. But after the election, it went even further. The channel averaged 437,000 viewers on November 10th. As this was happening, the number of people who were following Newsmax on Twitter just exploded. So not just Trump, the entire right-wing media has milked into this chaos. So who cares about democracy, the future of our elections, the integrity of the Republican officials who were repeatedly thrown under the bus, the threats they received? Who cares about the 2 Senate races in Georgia? If the entire right-wing ecosystem can piggyback on the Trump gravy train to make as much money as they can. Trump is still collecting money in the name of this election. As of today, 75% of every contribution goes into the newly created political action committee called Save America, while the other 25% goes into Republican National Committee. After weeks of saying there is evidence and that they will overturn the election, Trump campaign's former lawyer now started saying that the evidence is virtually invisible. Yes, she said that. Virtually invisible. On December 14th, when Biden electors vote, that's the message they will all keep spouting. That we tried everything we could, but we were not able to do anything because the people working behind Biden were so smart that they left no evidence. As one of my channel viewers suggested, if the Biden campaign is so smart, then he thinks Biden deserves to be the president. And I agree with them. So we don't need the collection of motley fools from the Trump campaign. They knew the election was rigged since March this year. They knew the mail-in ballots were a hoax. They knew exactly what will happen and when it will happen. And moron Rand Paul even knows the exact time of the dumps that rigged the election. But they don't have a single shred of evidence to prove it in the court. But jokes apart, from what we have seen, the Trump campaign is now slowly gravitating from we have evidence to the evidence that has disappeared. And they will keep up the charade as long as they possibly can because Trump can raise more money from people, Fox News can get a small pie, Newsmax can get a small slice, Breitbart can sweep up the leftovers, and podcast runners will squeeze whatever they can. And Rand Paul will win the re-election with QAnon supporters and without a primary opponent. And the gravy train will roll on and on and on, taking money from people, most of whom are poor, naive, and often undereducated. It's pitiful, and I have no idea who is going to save them from these monsters. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe.